Hello, this is Steve, your YouTube English teacher, with the first in 4 of a series of videos this summer. We're looking at the writing parts that you do in B2 and C1 for Cambridge, and we're going to look at the top 10 topics for each writing type. Starting with part 1, the obligatory task, the essay, similar in B2 and C1. And in this video, we're going to go into lots of detail about the kind of questions you'll have to answer, how you should plan a good answer to that with the typical ideas you need to express, with some use of English, with some speaking. So let's go, let's start the activities. So your first possible question, it's about technology, super common question. You will notice that I've put the word in bold to sort of show you this topic, and then I've underlined the main topic. You're writing an essay about the impact of technology. As always in C1, there's 3 points that you have taken notes about. Well done for taking those notes. And you have to discuss 2 of them. Discuss, meaning develop them, elaborate on them, explain the common ideas on these topics related to the bigger theme, and then decide which is most important, which is, in this case, which has seen the biggest impact. 260 words, and you can use the notes they give you if you want, the notes which are normally something like this. They're giving you a little clue about what you're expected to write about, just in case you didn't get it. But this fits with what I'm saying. You should be able to write about the common ideas on these common topics. That's the big theme of my videos in the writing and speaking. We're testing your English. To do that, we see if you can say typical things that everyone says in English about how, life is changing due to technology in the following ways. It's not an original idea, but you should be able to speak about it. So, for example, you're always in touch because everyone has mobile phones. You meet people on apps or social media, and your work requires technological tools, common ideas that you'll be expressing. So let's get into this. How do you take this question and plan a top quality C1 answer? Well, the first thing we're going to do is think about our introduction, because this is going to show that you understand the topic. I have, a few weeks ago, a video which explains how to write a really good introduction and conclusion. And I'm following my tips, as we can see. Technological advances mean life has changed beyond recognition, for better and worse, particularly with regards to communications and work. This is still my plan, by the way. This is just a plan. My plan is very detailed because I'm a good student. But you can see the basic idea in my plan is I'm going to fulfill the 3 functions of a good intro that I mentioned in a previous video. Number 1, what is this topic we're talking about? Do you understand what we're talking about? We are not talking about how fun technology is. That's not really the question, is it? It's about the impact of technology in people's lives. So you need to show that. And I do in my first sentence. Our lifetime, technology has changed everything beyond recognition. You understand the topic. Then the second thing I'm going to do is make sure I explain what I'm going to talk about in my essay. In this case, particularly with regards to communications and work. Those are the 2 that I've chosen to talk about. And the third thing a good introduction should do is try and make the reader want to read what's coming next. And I do it in this case with for better and worse. What do you mean for better and worse? Are you going to explain the good things and the bad things? It makes you want to continue reading. It gives you a little bit of a hook. Hey, I'm not saying it's the most exciting thing ever. I'm not saying, it's a great crime introduction or a great series that you want to watch. But it's just a little twist so you are not just repeating the same thing in every essay about, nowadays this is an important topic. This essay will discuss point 1 and point 2. To go beyond that, try and make it a little bit interesting with a little phrase like this. So that's how we write an introduction. I've got previous videos on that, but obviously it's very important. Now, here's the main point of this video. How do we express these typical ideas for the most common essay topics? What are you going to say about how people's lives have changed with technology, in particular regarding communication? Well, here's my idea. Typical ideas. We are constantly available at all times of the day for work or for family, with apps, with phones. All the information in the world is at our but we might be forgetting the importance of face-to-face. So these are very typical ideas about how communication has changed our lives. I'm expressing fairly typical ideas. I'm linking them together. Notice how I've underlined some words, particularly and but, because this shows how I'm linking the ideas together. And I'm using a nice little bit of vocab. For example, having information at our, at your, at my, It's Use of English Part 1. Do you know the expression you should have for C1 Use of English Part 1? You're going to learn a nice expression. Can you tell me? And of course, write it in the comments, send me a postcard. The answer is fingertips. The information is at your fingertips. The key collocation is at, to have information at your fingertips. Then I'll do the same for paragraph 2. In my case, I want to discuss work. As I said in the introduction, jobs are affected. They can be made more efficient, for example, with AI. For example, I'm developing my idea again, and I'm showing how I link one part to the next with examples. Or, on the other hand, in contrast and so on, it can be a challenge. People are replaced by machines, for example, in factories. So again, developing my ideas with contrasting ideas with examples. So this is almost done. Our conclusion now, as we said, we need to answer the question. So a good conclusion, we should quickly recap what we've said and then try and say something interesting to leave it on a nice note as well. So to recap, it's impossible to measure the bigger change because you can't really compare these two things, can you? But I'm still saying which is bigger. Don't forget to say that, even if then you don't actually say one is bigger than the other. At least address the question. But both have undergone fundamental shifts. A nice expression to make it really sound like I know what I'm talking about. If you can use those kind of expressions, that would be really impressive. So from this plan, it would be very easy to write an essay. That's the idea. Now you as a good student need to be able to write plans like this, express these typical ideas, turn them into an essay. By the way, would you go on a digital detox for a week or for a month? How would that affect you? What would be the most difficult thing to give up? Just a little bit of speaking to make my class more dynamic there. And again, to express typical ideas. Like these are common ideas that you should be able to express in English. So can you express yourself on questions like this about your dependence on technology, your relationship with technology, common topics that you should be able to talk about. Right, so that's our number 1 topic. Let's do 9 more. We're going to go a bit faster, as you can probably guess. Second question is about the environment. Very common. What can you do to help the environment? You can do some of these things. Discuss 2 of them. In my introduction again, the human role in climate change is undeniable. Okay, you understand the topic. It's about helping the environment. Actions such as driving less and avoiding plastic can make a difference. I'm going to talk about those 2. But are we willing to make these sacrifices? Oh, what an interesting essay this is going to be. The person is going to really get to the root of the problem and ask the interesting questions. I want to read more. That's the idea of our introduction. This time I'm only going to give you 1 paragraph, and your task at home is to do the same for the second paragraph. Driving less. Although we love the freedom of driving everywhere, we may have to reduce our on cars and prioritize public transport instead. For example, again, developing my answers. And we have a, do you know the answer? It's a good one for C1 that you should definitely know. You rely on cars. We rely on cars. So we have a reliance on cars. Can you do the same for a second paragraph? Can you express typical ideas about how we can help the environment on the topic of avoiding plastic with a little specific vocab about the environment, with a little bit of connecting in there to the previous paragraph, to the next paragraph? That's what makes a good plan. And can you imagine volunteering to help the environment? Would you like to be a part of a TikTok trend where they clean a beach? I can imagine that would be quite satisfying. Maybe I would do that. And we continue our pleasant conversation. Topic number 3 is work. What motivates young people to work? Is it money? Is it the challenge? Is it the social impact on people? Well, I'd like you to write an essay about it. And you might have a paragraph about money that's something like this, in which you state that people want to earn money, okay, but it's not everything. What's the correct collocation here to talk about the dollar? It's a bit of an old-fashioned biblical phrase, isn't it? And it's the mighty dollar. Other factors also play a role, and then I can continue into my second paragraph, and I'm building everything together in a nice essay. And what about you? Would you prefer a minimum wage job that you love, or a top 1% salaried job that you hate? Please elaborate. Please give me an example. Please give me and so on and so on. Practice flexing those speaking muscles. Topic number 4 is media, as in films and books and series and so on. And what are the benefits of different media? Talking about books and films and series. I love books. That's just me. I'm kind of a book kind of guy. Because for me, there's more detail. Using your imagination, the story, characters and setting to life. What do you... to life? Do you know it? It's another good C1 Use of English Part 1. If you didn't know, by the way, we are doing Use of English Part 1 for this essay activity as well. You bring something to life. A nice phrase that you could use in your writing or in your speaking, and that is possible on the Use of English. Let's talk about Harry Potter. Do you prefer the book, the film, the series, or nothing? Because notorious TERF J.K. Rowling has ruined it for you. But again, talk about it. Everyone's got an opinion, haven't they? Even if you don't have an opinion, tell me why. We're halfway through. Topic number 5. Your council has been discussing education and the mayor themselves has asked you to write an essay about why we go to school. What do we gain from school? Maybe talking about skills, you might talk about some of these things. And you might say that school, your potential to be the best version of yourself. School, do you know the answer? It unlocks your potential. It opens you up and unlocks your potential. What do you think? What's the most useful skill, content and contact that you've gained at school? Give me examples, explain, give me your opinion. Topic number 6 is sport. Why do we play sport? What values do we get from sport? Honesty, commitment and teamwork. Absolutely. Personally, honesty I think is really important because when you do sport, you play to the nice expression, just natural English that you're learning in my classes. You play to the whistle because the referee or the umpire blows the whistle and you have to stop, or else sport's meaningless. You can't just pick up the ball and throw it into the goal, can you? That's against the rules. What do you think? Are you willing to bend the rules in sport? There you go. Can you talk about, were you very competitive when you played sports as a child? Maybe you still are. Those are the kind of conversations that you should be able to have at C1. Topic number 7. Let's talk about food with your local group of bar friends and Fireball Beauregard asking you to write an essay, and you better do it because you know Fireball, when he gets angry, you don't want to cross him. What's going to happen in the future with food? We're going to be eating different things. If there's one thing we can guarantee in life, it is change. Talk about 2 of these and decide the most important way future diets could change. Well, let's talk about plant-based food. What are the typical ideas you could express on this topic? This might seem a bit more esoteric and random, but I think you should be able to talk about it. This is the kind of thing that at C1, everyone can more or less say something about why they like it, the pros and cons of each of these, and so on. For example, talking about plant-based food, obviously it's in many ways better than eating meat, and it could lower your carbon. What's the expression with regards to how much carbon we produce due to our actions? It's our carbon footprint, of course. And it's ethical because you're not killing animals. On the other hand, it can be difficult to get some nutrients and protein and so on without meat. And you can elaborate these typical ideas in English to get that C1 level. Would you eat some of these different future foods? What do you think? Why not? Would you all these typical questions that we can ask and you can talk about. Topic number 8 is travel, and a bus driver has asked you to write, this time a much more friendly question, the benefits of travel for young people. And we can talk about language, independence and career. And you might say that traveling allows you to the language in a natural way because you have to use it to get what you want. We need a phrasal verb that means to learn a language in a natural way as you hear it, as you're immersed in it. And the best answer is you pick up a language. You could maybe say come across, but I think it doesn't quite work here. I mean, it works, but pick up is better because that's specifically what it means. Come across is more like to meet something by chance. So there we go, talk about language, and I'm sure my viewers, with your great level of English, your language skills must have helped you on many occasions. Our penultimate topic is health, and at the gym, one of your bros has asked you to write an essay, Chad Barbell specifically, And you really look up to Chad, so you are definitely going to write a good essay about how these healthy lifestyle habits can be good for you and which one is the most important. And you might talk about walking, which is low impact but good for cardio because it your heart rate. What does walking do to your heart rate? It raises your heart rate because you raise something. After walking, your heart rate rises. That is intransitive. It does not have an object. It's a verb that doesn't have an object. But raises is a transitive verb, meaning you raise your heart rate, you raise something. Do you study grammar in your language? Do you know what I'm talking about? Am I just showing off that I know this? Because it's pretty impressive. Do you have any nice walks that you could recommend to me? Do you do a lot of walking? These are the things we can talk about. I only walk to the shop to buy food. I'm not sure that's so healthy, but that's what we're talking about. And our last topic is a bit of a common C1, like social public issues, how you could use public spaces in your town. And Jeff Linton has asked you about how to use public spaces. And he's a boring middle-aged guy like me, and we like talking about these things. Should we have more houses, more parks, more science and industry zones? It's really interesting for boring people like me. You might have to write about it in your essay for C1. So you can talk about why these things are important for your town, for your city, for society. And we might talk about affordable housing and housing crises, and the importance of quality housing and getting a on the property ladder. A nice expression that means buying a house. You get your foot on the property ladder. And what about you? Do you have a neighborhood in mind for your first home? Are you happy in your neighborhood, or would you move to a different one, and why? And we can talk about these kind of questions. So in conclusion, write these essays. That is your homework, isn't it? I would recommend, you've got 10 topics here, choose a random number, write that essay and send it to your teacher, which could be me. I'll be happy to ignore it. Or if you pay me some money, I'll even give you some feedback. Or you could just give it to your regular English teacher who will probably correct it. I mean, they're busy people, English teachers, but we like it when students go the extra mile. So there we go. Hope that was useful. You've had lots of writing, planning there, lots of essay topics. If you do that work, you're going to be well prepared for the C1 exam. Goodbye.